But before that, we're going to get to some NBA. And, of course, tomorrow night, the 2023 NBA draft. It's not exciting for drama's sake because we all know who's going to be the number one pick. And that, of course, will be 7'5" sensation Victor Wembanyama of France. But it is exciting because we want to see how good this guy can be. And Rob, the hype, it's not really through the roof just because I think he's an international player. And none of us, for the most part, have seen him play much. But when you look at the comments that people are making, Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN said that there are people around the NBA who think he could be the greatest prospect in American team sports history. There are people saying there are people in the NBA that told Woj that he could be, or no, that he should be, or it could be or should be. I'm not sure which one it was exactly, but either way, in 3 years, he could be the best player in the league offensively and defensively. I mean, this is hype. And finally, Rob, there's this. David Aldridge, friend of the show, writes for The Athletic, longtime NBA player or writer. An anonymous
He's in the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yes, an anonymous executive told Aldridge this. He's just a breathtaking prospect. Even if he never becomes as good as all the hype, he's still going to end up being a top 10 player in the league. He isn't going to bust or never make an all-star team or something like that. I said when I saw him in Vegas, and I can't guarantee this happens, but he has a chance to one day be the best player in the league. Now, how many guys entering any draft can you say that about? Every draft doesn't hold a guy with that kind of potential. And it seems like from afar, it's important to him to realize that upside. So, Rob, what do you think? I mean, what do you see as a floor and a ceiling for Victor Wembanyama?
I just haven't seen him to be able to make that. I respect the people who do it for a living, Chris, but I just, for me to sit here and act like he's going to be the greatest thing since LeBron or sliced bread or whatever, I'm not in position to call that. And that's what they do. And obviously there's buzz about him and enough people, Chris, have gone to bat to say stuff about him, which I get, you know what I mean? And that's what they do for their careers. And I'm not saying that there was ever, I don't remember some of these other guys maybe hyped up like this, but there were a lot of nice things said about a lot of great people. I mean, young players.
I think the only two guys that could compare to the hype are Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and LeBron James.
Right, because Mike wasn't hyped like this.
In the day,
Mike wasn't even hyped like this.
No. He was third pick in the draft.
Exactly. Mike wasn't even hyped like this. Like people, I told you before, it was the old days, Chris. They didn't even pick him up at the airport. Get in the cab. Could you imagine today you flying into Chicago, you're a draft pick?
You probably got a player demanding a trade if that happened, you know?
Right. Get in a cab. We'll see you and tell them to take you to the Chicago Stadium.
Yep. But and I'm going off the reports. I've read a lot about him. I've seen, highlights.
You've seen some stuff, right?
Like
but you haven't. Have you seen him play live?
No, I haven't seen him. I mean, other than that, when he played, on television when he was in Vegas.
Okay, I'm just asking. Yeah, I mean,
I'm going off a lot of hype and we're talking to people around the league and things like that, and some of these quotes that I just referred to. But I think the floor, Rob, unfortunately, I mean, we tell it like it is. The floor would be like a Greg Oden, where his body betrays him, and unfortunately, he just never gets a chance to even try to realize his potential. Obviously, we all hope that doesn't happen, but that would be the worst case scenario. Ceiling, Rob, and I'm not saying I think he's going to reach this, but I think the ceiling, from what we're being told, and just looking at him and looking at the way he plays, and from what we've seen, Rob, the ceiling, sky's the limit. There is no ceiling. Like, again, I'm not saying he's going to be the GOAT. I'm definitely not saying that. But ceiling, meaning what could he be if he actually becomes the best player he can? Ceiling, the GOAT has to be the ceiling. I mean, you're talking about something we've never seen before.
Yeah, I just, it's hard.
I'm not saying he's going to be the GOAT. If you ask me a prediction, and this is going to be a positive one, but if you ask me what I think type of career I think he'll have, and this is huge, I think he'll have, I would say maybe like a Tim Duncan type career, which is obviously meaning you're one of the best players ever.
I'm with that. Like that's what I'm looking at. And that's no small beans, Chris. We talk about it all the time. He's a free throw away from being 6 for 6 like Michael Jordan. Like that's where Tim Duncan was.
Right.
So I can buy into something like that. But this idea that he's going to be the greatest player who ever played and all, I got to watch him first. I got to see.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not saying
I got to see a 7'5" guy stay healthy. I got to make sure. Like there's so many things that can happen that we've seen.
Right, of course.
It's hard for me to.
I'm not saying, because again, I haven't seen him enough to say that.
Right.
But I'm saying based off of what I've seen in the games, but more so what people are saying about him. I think the ceiling, like how good could this guy be? And the only other player I remember ever saying this about in recent memory coming into a draft was LeBron. That LeBron could end up being the greatest player ever. And so I think that's the ceiling that he could, if he reaches his full potential, he could be the GOAT. Because again, first of all, he's 7'5". And Kristaps Porzingis is 7'3", and he's had injury problems, but for the most part, he plays. Wembanyama hasn't had, the types of injuries that you say are related to his size, and he's got foot problems and things like that. He can handle. We've seen enough of that to know he can handle. He can obviously block shots. He can shoot the basketball. Like, he can do everything on the court. And then he's going to a great organization with a great coach, an organization that knows how to handle superstars, including international ones. And he's been mentored to some degree by Tony Parker and Boris Diaw, star players, from France who played for the Spurs.
Right.
So he's got everything, he's got a bunch of positives in his corner. And we've just never seen anything like this, Rob. We've never, Jokic we've never really seen anything like that. But this guy's on potentially on maybe even a different level than Jokic. Obviously, health, we got to see if he stays healthy. But man, if he does,
what does this do to the American born player when, Chris, maybe yet another here comes another guy from Europe, another guy to win MVP. You know what I mean? Like, will an American kid win an MVP in the next 10 years if this guy pans out to be who they say he is? Do you know what I mean?
Like, let's say, for argument's sake, let's say he is all that. And maybe he's, he comes in and you see, wow, he actually could end up challenging for the GOAT title. I think what it would do, Rob, would absolutely solidify the notion that we all kind of see coming, or if it's not already there, that America no longer produces the best players in the world. Like, it's kind of out there already because Jokic, Giannis, Embiid, Luka, right? But if he comes in and he's all that, like he's one of the best players, a top 5 player fighting for MVPs in a couple years, then there's no doubt. Now, I'll say this. We still overall have the best, basketball players overall. Like our country.
Yeah,
like you're not going to find Serbia Slovenia, Lithuania. Like, we're still going to win if we send our best players. I still think we'd win, at least for now. Because all these guys are from different countries for the most part, you know?
Right, no, but I get that. But the idea that they could win, have a run of 8 or 10 NBA, we're not like that's a
well,
little.
Next year, look at next year. I mean,
5?
Who do you think is it's 5 straight? Because Giannis won 2, Jokic won 2.
I'm gonna tell you who the favorite is, Chris.
Is Jokic.
It's without question.
Yep.
After him winning, Chris. People not voting for him this past year, and if he comes back out and say he gets the triple-double, Chris, he was a half a rebound away from a triple-double, right?
If he just does what he did this year, Rob,
he'll win.
He'll probably win. Or Giannis will be in the running. Like the top 2 are those 2. And then,
but I'm saying coming off that championship,
if Kyrie gets in the way, that will hurt Luka. But Luka's going to be in the running too. Yeah, I would think. Like obviously, Ja's not even going to be able to play enough games to win it. And then
so he's out of the mix.
He's out.
LeBron's out of the mix. AD's out of the mix for the most part. I just can't see. AD would have to stay healthy the entire year. Whatever.
I mean, AD wouldn't. The front runners are obviously Jokic and Giannis, and then probably Luka. Americans with the best chance, I don't think any of them are like front runners.
Kevin Durant's not Tatum, there, Chris. You can't even look at. Yep.
And Steph, if they have a great year. Like
without Draymond Green, how are they going to have a good year?
Huh?
How are they going to have a good year without Draymond Green? I mean, it's all over.
They're going to keep Draymond. They're going to keep Draymond. Yeah. And I think they're going to make some other moves. But, I mean, I think those are the names you're thinking as far as Americans. But, yeah, I mean, look, I don't know that Wembanyama, even if he is all that, I don't think he comes in next year and is an MVP candidate. That would be some Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell type stuff. You know what I mean? Or Kareem. But again, they're saying he's all that. He did win the MVP in the French League, Rob. He was the leading scorer, was the best defensive player. He won like 5 awards over there. I mean, so I don't know. What do you think it would say? Would you be... I mean, I don't know that American players should be, what's the word I'm looking for? Like dispirited or something.
Nah,
but I would think, Rob, we need to start changing the way we.
There would be a conversation about it, Chris, and there would become like, wow, like this is a big time trend, and there would be no denying it. And now you got this kid who everybody's saying has GOAT potential, and now is he going to be in the way for the next? You know what I mean? Like depending on how he plays.
If he lives up to the hype, Rob, then because Jokic is not going anywhere. He's young. Giannis is young. Luka's young. You know, and again, I think we'd have to look at how they're developing players and start to apply it. There maybe would need to be some tweaks, or not, maybe even more than tweaks, outright changes to AAU. And I'm not saying trying to take anybody's, game, for lack of a better term, away, but they're playing too many games. They got to start drilling more. You know what I mean? They got to start working more. Even the individual trainers, Rob, like all these guys now coming up have individual trainers. There's a lot of people looking at the league and the moves that the players make, and they're saying that's a training guy. Because you can see they're not just doing stuff, in the flow of the game. It's almost like they're doing what their trainer told them to do. This move, this many dribbles through the legs, and then spin move, and like that type of stuff. So I think it would definitely necessitate that type of thinking and consideration from America. All right.